and it looks like the government could be potentially giving us a Solana ETF. The altcoins are going crazy. Hit that like button if you finally like some positive energy in the markets. And not only that, we got my bald brother, Brian Armstrong, fighting the government as well. And everybody, of course, we know this stream is powered by Arculus. I'm here with Kelly. And, of course, we got TJ on the ones and twos. How are you two doing today on this? Finally, we got some positive news in the crypto markets.
I'm doing excellent. You know what? Everybody right now, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like the markets setting up like they have been and actually seeing some positive sentiment come back in, these green candles, is this ominous? Is this actually not ominous? Is this fortuitous about what is about to come in this market coming into the middle of the month? Because we got some signals that suggest we might be seeing some really bullish action here very soon.
Yeah, I'm still in that trade on Blofin. We're still, riding Bitcoin for a long right here. I almost was going to add to the trade, and DJ, you'll appreciate this. You know why I didn't add to my long yesterday? Because it started to dip, and I was like feeling like, oh yeah, we're going to bounce. Want to know why I didn't add?
Why?
Crypto face was short. And then one of his rare, he does get some trades wrong every now and then. He actually posted his loss. I think he lost $6,000 in Tether. I end up not pulling the trigger and adding to the trade because, we had diminished from the trade. We had pulled off a lot of profits. Want to add to it. But let's look at the crypto markets. We said Solana is pumping. We're going to get into why in just a minute. Bitcoin, though, is up 0.8% and Ethereum is up 2.5%. Why? Because of Solana. Look at Solana with the 8.4% pump right here. When we look at the charts on the 7-day, look at that. And on the 24-hour, now maybe we're getting a little bit of a pullback, but we've gotten a short-term pullback there, kept going up, got another pullback there, kept going up. We might keep moving up. I mean, $155, $160 Solana, not out of the cards today. Now, Kelly, are you bullish on Solana still? Some people are saying, no, we need to go to 110, 120 before we hit 200. That might not happen now.
I mean, I'm quite bullish on Solana. It's not just this news, regarding what's happening with the VanEck filing of Solana, but all this other. I mean, there's so many different things that are stacking up into a bullish narrative that are starting to bleed out into the charts. Looking at this chart right here with Solana US dollar, this is on the 15-minute chart. This is using the BitLab trading stack. We had bullish divergences continually printing before this move up, held hostage a little bit by this descending trend line. But as soon as we broke out, boom, came up and shot right up to that next order block up here. I'm very bullish on this. I do expect this is going to be a bit of a speculative pump initially. Watch for a small pullback, but I'd be looking for opportunities. I forget who said it, but anything under $200 on Solana, I do expect this to have very positive movement in this bull trend.
Yeah, I would say so. And I'm looking at the Solana Bitcoin trading pair here, and I'm just seeing some similarities to what we saw last cycle. Last cycle, we had this period where Solana's price largely moving sideways while the RSI moved down into oversold territory and then moved into overbought territory, dragging the price of Solana way up. And if you look right here, Solana price trading sideways as the RSI moves into oversold territory, potentially triggering another overbought area where we can get these nice parabolic pumps for Solana. Now, let's just get right into this. Well, we do need to see some other coins are also moving in a major way. It's not just Solana. I did tweet about Cardano. Maybe I'll share my joke later. But Maker is also moving to the upside in a major way. Now, this is an institutional coin. TJ, what are your thoughts on Solana ETF news? And Maker is a big winner. Do you think maybe they might have a hand in behind the scenes with some ETF news?
You're talking about
MakerDAO, yeah, the big VC DeFi protocol. Maybe there's some custody, maybe there's some I don't even know dashboards being built.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think there is much correlation between a lot of the institutions and Maker. I don't really think of MakerDAO. I look at as kind of one of the OG decentralized on-chain kind of plays. So to me, anytime I see Maker moving, this is a good sign for on-chain activity. It's a good sign for staking. It does bode well. It's kind of like shows altcoins as a whole. It means altcoins are probably coming to Wall Street, this VanEck filing. So, Maker, though, to me is a lot more cypherpunk, and they're going to be
I'm just more conspiratorial minded than you. The MakerDAO CEO was found in a Caribbean island with some alarming messages in the 24 hours ahead of time. So I assume it's captured, but maybe it does still have some of those original ethoses. WIF is also moving to the upside, 9%. Jupiter 9%. Caspa, 9%. A lot of coins really close to a 10% pump today.
There was some big news on Caspa today. I can't remember which miner it was, but
Marathon. Yeah.
It was who?
Marathon.
Yeah. Okay. So they're switching over to mining Caspa and stuff like that now on some of these. We've been talking about the hash rate being more difficult for Bitcoin miners where they're not getting as high ROI. So as that hardware ages out, it looks like the play is switching over to mining Caspa now. So that is an interesting development to keep an eye on.
You know who front ran that info for us? Maybe not Marathon, essentially, but Nick Demondi told us that the big Bitcoin mining whales love mining Caspa, and there's going to be an institutional push. And then here we see it, just a few weeks later. But there's also two coins that fell in a major way, and it is Fetch AI and Singularity Net. I almost cashed in some AGIX yesterday. I just didn't quite pull the trigger, didn't quite get to it, didn't have time. They both fell over 10% respectively there. Notcoin also down, TIA, ROE, Pendle. A lot of these other coins just had some, pretty good days in the past week. And so now a little bit of a bearish action. Cardano is also down. It is now down 0.7% despite the pump from Solana. I couldn't help myself. I had a tweet about it, of course. Let me go ahead and hit refresh so we get the new one here. This is, I stole this from Gainsey. What does Solana getting an ETF mean for ADA? And this is me with more hair just sweating profusely, everybody. But let's talk about Solana. I'm going to tee it up in a second. Why is Solana pumping today? A lot of people hold Solana. They see a 10% pump. They're wondering what's going on. Well, it looks like VanEck, a very large institution, is now going to allow ETFs to be traded with Solana backing that asset. And what does that mean for the average investor? Basically, it means these big Wall Street types are going to make it easier for your grandma to invest in Solana for her 401k. And then that's going to bring in tons and tons of cash, which will then pump Solana's price. So very, very good news for Solana. Now let's look into the article here. It marks the first Solana ETF to be filed in the US 6 days after a similar product launched in Canada. Of course, this is VanEck. This is one of the big top 3 asset managers, I would say, after maybe not top 3. You also have State Street, but this is a top 5 institution here, especially in crypto. Solana was 6%, now a lot closer to 10% since the filing went live. This is the first registration in the U.S. here, and VanEck has filed the S1 form for the ETF with the SEC, prompting Sol to jump by more than 6%. That's a whole lot of acronyms right there. It marks the first registration 6 days after the product launch in Canada, and then, of course, the SEC approved the Bitcoin ETF. I don't know why they're saying in February, while an Ether ETF appears to be on the horizon. This is actually January 11th. We're going to let CoinDesk slide on this one. I'm sure that was just a typo. VanEck underwent a similar process when initially filing for its Ether ETF. So what kind of odds are we putting on the Solana ETF approval, let's just say this year?
You know what? It's hard to say with that because currently there's one. What we're going to be watching for now is there going to be a flood of other, for instance, when we look at the Bitcoin spot ETF list here, we have BlackRock, Grayscale, Fidelity, ARK, Bitwise, VanEck. There's all these. If we start seeing a flood of other institutions putting in their applications, that would definitely, especially, let's be honest, especially if BlackRock does it, then it starts becoming very, very likely. But as it stands right now, we have to remember right now, this is a speculative push on obviously positive news, but very speculative. Because an application is in doesn't mean it's going to happen now or anytime soon. I think by the end of the year, I'm still surprised. It's hard to say, man. I'm watching for the other applications to come in.
I think that's a fair assessment. You're waiting for BlackRock, which currently has a record of 576 to 1 for ETF filings. Once BlackRock files, that's when you turn bullish. TJ, or go ahead.
Well, one more thing. We have to remember the amount of institutional capital that absolutely aped into the Bitcoin spot ETF in Q1. Also, I think that appetite for that digital asset being, actually eaten up and bought up by institutions and smart money alike, also, I think helped substantiate the Ethereum spot ETF approval. And now, hopefully launch here in the coming week or so. But this institutional appetite is what actually puts pressure on government bodies to actually give these approvals for the future and other assets that are out there. So it's going to be very interesting to see over the next 5 years how this shapes up with the access points that are put out there, whether it be broad, altcoin ETF, almost like altcoin hedge funds There's a lot. This is why we have to remember we're still so early.
All right, put some odds out there. I'm gonna say less than 20% odds.
I'd say about that 20 to 30%.
If I see a BlackRock filing, I'm doubling or tripling that. TJ, what would you say?
Yeah, I'm go even lower. I'd say less than 10%. For this, you're talking about this year, 2024?
Yeah, for 2024.
Yeah, I'd
Solana.
say I'd be shocked if it gets approved this year. I think we'll get into some stuff a little bit later, but there's a lot of there's actually a lot of major differences of why Solana is different from both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin and Ethereum were both had futures markets that were traded on very regulated, the CME. Solana hasn't existed on that. Market cap dramatically smaller. Nothing close to this market cap size has ever had an ETF before in the past. I think what's interesting to me, I do think it will happen. I do think it has a very big, it's a very big sign that, crypto is coming to Wall Street. They want to see these things get tokenized. I think it will be very good for Solana's bull market narrative to say it's coming, but I think it will most likely be 2025. And in some ways could almost mark the top, depending on when in 2025 it is. Like this Solana ETF getting approved could almost mark the top of the cycle, but it's going to be very good narrative to have for the next 12, 14, 16 months as we're getting into this cycle. I mean, we're seeing it's already having a strong impact for altcoins. I do think, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, Coinbase suing the SEC at the same time, like all of this news coming out simultaneously. These are very big things. They don't happen by accident. So we said when we saw it filed in Canada, we thought this was a front run of what might happen in the US, but there's a lot of major hurdles to clear. Let's get the ETH one out there first, which we should see soon. But it's going to take a long time before we see it.
Crypto Crank, Raul Paul thinks Sol is going to be our winner. Can Solana dethrone Ethereum? Can it be the clear blockchain to build on? I would say it is a very, very tough struggle as long as this L2 ecosystem on Ethereum is flourishing and thriving. It seems like it is. I mean, you look at what Polygon did years ago and what Base is doing today.
Here's another question too. Why does it have to dethrone Ethereum? It doesn't. There's plenty of space for both of them to grow and go.
There's a Visa and a MasterCard.
Exactly. I mean, there's a EA and a Epic Games. There's a Google and an Apple.
I still have my Diners Club card. I still use it. I get weird faces.
Yeah, but then you also think of like Amex, for instance. Amex tends to have much higher percentages, fees than other cards, but somehow for some reason, many big players and businesses use Amex over those other ones. So this goes back to the same thing when people talk about fees on Ethereum versus Solana. Same thing, you talk about Ethereum versus Bitcoin, so on and so forth. When you talk about the size of the ecosystem, as well as security and trust that's imbued within that particular brand, or in this case, crypto protocol, all these things play a major role rather than just, I want speed and low fees. Sometimes people are like, no, I want trust and security. So all these things, these are going to work in concert with each other.
Yeah, or go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking about this in the office yesterday. The market generally settles on 2 to 3, providers for any given service. So if there's a great example you just made there, Kelly. I mean, you think Visa, MasterCard, American Express, like those are the 3 main payment rails that get used. So there's going to be 3 for payments. There's going to be 3 for DeFi. There's going to probably be 2 or 3 for gaming, depending on what application you need. I mean, we're talking about.
Let me make a bold statement here. With the bifurcation of the globe, could be 2 systems of 2 or 3 players.
Great point.
Thus creating 5 or 6.
Great point.
You have 2 or 3 credit card functionals for Swift banking system and the BRICS banking system.
Right.
So we can see the same thing, and we're seeing it right now with Ton ecosystem and the Tron ecosystem. Not really used in the West too much.
No, you nailed it. That's exactly what I was saying. You see Tron and Ton on the East. You see, call it Avalanche, ETH, and Solana over here. And like that, you could see all of those succeed very well.
And then you got nerds around the globe trying to trade with Bitcoin and Cardano.
I mean, you just brought up a great point too with Tron. Here in the West, there's a lot of discussions I hear with people, wondering, how Tron's still around, nobody, but then you go in the Eastern territories of the world, and it's one of the largest ecosystems that's out there. So we have to remember that sometimes we're so lost in our own bubble that we're not looking at the fundamentals of something on the broad basis versus just the narrow focus that we have from what we're exposed to.
All right, well, let's focus on what some of the experts are saying about the Solana ETF. We got James Seifert here, a friend of the channel. Him and Eric Balchunas, aka the Bloomberg Bros, is what people like to call them. First Solana ETF filing in the U.S. will be interesting to see if other issuers immediately follow suit. This is exactly what me and Kelly were saying. It's going to be interesting to see if BlackRock immediately files afterwards. Earlier thoughts are that this is the only, early thoughts are that this has the only shot. He did it funny that this only has a shot to launch sometime in 2025 if we have a new administration in the White House and SEC. Even then, it is not guaranteed. He said, even if the orange man comes in and Barron Trump is whispering in his ear with Martin Shkreli in the background, we still then might not even get a Solana ETF. Yeah, we talked to him. I asked, I asked him this question directly. Will we get a Solana ETF? And he just said it's unlikely, and there's other coins that he would predict would come out before this, like a Litecoin, which is interesting, like an Avalanche, which is interesting there. So Solana, there's some detractors saying it's going to be other coins first. I'm still waiting on the BlackRock filing there. Here we have a very scary tweet. I haven't read this one yet. The SEC is actually getting PvP'd so hard. U.S. government using Coinbase to sell these black market coins. ETH ETF, surprise approval. VanEck filing for a Solana ETF. Trump claiming he's the crypto president. And then a bill introduced to pay taxes with Bitcoin. There's just too much on this man's plate. He's spread thin. They only have so many lawyers. They only have so large of a budget. They can't do all these enforcement actions. And so I just think they're going to get a lot more L's over the next 12 months. I don't know what you guys think, though, but yeah, it's not looking good for the SEC's battles against crypto. Eric has another analysis here. The knee-jerk reaction here, talking about the Solana ETF filing, is, oh, this will never be approved because there aren't Solana futures. He agrees, but change at the, who wins in November, I think anything is possible. Just imagine Hester Pierce or someone like that running the SEC. She would do crypto a good justice there. And yeah, imagine if we do replace Gensler with someone crypto friendly. Is that a green light where 5 or 6 cryptos are added for ETFs?
It's such an interesting sort of thought experiment, because for those of you that weren't around or weren't paying attention, several years ago when Gary Gensler got brought in, the crypto community was initially excited because he was, a blockchain professor at MIT. And everybody's like, it's going to be
an insider, someone who's going to love crypto. He loves algo, though.
But my favorite tweet around all this is from Eric Voorhees here. He says, U.S. government declared Coinbase an illegal brokerage and then proceeded to use Coinbase as its brokerage. And then the follow-up to this from Willie Woo says, hey, Gary Gensler, time to litigate your government to protect retail investors. There's just all these mixed signals about what's happening, what's not happening. We're going to dive into this more in a bit with the Coinbase versus SEC and what's going on there, especially, it's getting exciting. I think the corporate pressures and their access and the fact that they have aped in now actually puts an incredible bolstering of positive bullishness for what's possible this bull market cycle.
Kyle Fields brings up another coin. Litecoin is the perfect bridge, introducing altcoins to old school traditional investors. I would agree. Litecoin has an easily digestible narrative. It's the silver to Bitcoin's gold. I like to say copper, but it's there's 4 Litecoin for every 1 Bitcoin. And so you're just like, all right, it's the silver to gold. That's easy for people to digest and versus smart contracts.
It's incredibly decentralized too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I have heard that the conferences come off as a little bit bearish and not excited. That's just what I heard from a couple people who went. So yeah, I think if we get a Litecoin ETF filing, that's when you're going to see not a 10% pump, like a 30-40% pump, just because it's a smaller market cap.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of market caps, we got a gigantic market cap for the assets under management of this company that just teamed up with another crypto company. This is like the next BlackRock, everybody. Some say they're more powerful than BlackRock in certain aspects. Talking about State Street. State Street, they have $41 trillion asset under management there. I have to double check that number. Teaming up with Galaxy. This is Mike Novogratz's company there, and registers the SPDR ETF. This is going to be the Galaxy Digital Asset Ecosystem, which will invest in crypto and blockchain companies. This is going to be an altcoin, and I would say, maybe VC insider ETF here. So they seek to achieve the investment objective by investing directly or indirectly equity securities of foreign and domestic companies within the cryptocurrency and blockchain industries, ETFs that hold cryptocurrency future contracts and future contracts as well. Company considered to be within the cryptocurrency or blockchain industry, for example, mining companies, validating or processing crypto transaction companies there. So then it has just a large list of different crypto companies it'll work with. Under normal circumstances, the fund will invest at least 80% of its net assets directly into or indirectly into these investments and other instruments that provide exposure to digital asset ecosystems. So as we're getting the Solana ETF application, we have one of the world's largest asset managers up there with the BlackRock, up there with the Vanguard, now teaming up with the crypto company to just have a more broad array of crypto investments. And so this is going to be a lot of institutional money flowing into altcoins. Really, really bullish. Now, TJ, is going to be the VC insider coins. Would you say could it have any kind of net negativity on crypto?
Not real. I mean, new money coming into crypto, is it net negative? Maybe for one, if you hold the wrong bag, maybe, but I don't think so. I think this is good, really, really good for a lot of altcoins. Galaxy, Mike Novograt's been involved in crypto for a really long time. There's a lot of projects that they're behind. So I think this is going to be new money coming into all those things. And what was interesting to me is they were partnering with State Street Global Advisors. So this is not just US, this is all over the world. One of the biggest, most influential, especially in the tech space. So again, this is another sign that altcoins are getting the regulatory nod. They're big money institutions are not afraid of them anymore. They're seeing things change on the political front. So to me, this is another thing this is a great sign that altcoin season's starting. We're seeing altcoin dominance tick up. So yeah, and I did double check that number, by the way. It's interesting. They have 41.8 trillion assets under custody.
Okay.
4.1 trillion under management. So they custody a lot and manage a lot, and there's a little bit of a difference there. But still, one of the biggest asset managers in the world. To see them partnering with one of the biggest Web3 VC firms in the world, it's great. And so,
closely linked to very powerful people. Do you know what crypto power couple met at State Street? Do you know what crypto power couple met at State Street?
It's Sam Bankman-Fried and Caroline.
Caroline Ellison and Sam Bankman-Fried met at State Street. There's a lot, and if you look into both of their parents, there's a lot of implications that very powerful people go to State Street, and they're very well connected. It was
Jane Street.
Oh, Jane Street. That's right. And Jane Street actually might be a subsidiary of. I have to double check that. Yeah, you're right there. State Street, though, teaming up with Galaxy, eyeing new ETFs beyond Bitcoin. The next level of growth will come from investment options offering more than pure spot Bitcoin, aka all the altcoins are going to just have a lot of money raining upon their projects there. They hinted that these ETFs would expand beyond the spot ETFs there. And here's the number you just read, 4.1 trillion asset manager, a custodian of 10x that. We believe this is where the next level of growth is for the digital asset ecosystem. Now, does VCs, institutional money, Wall Street, maybe they're saying the pump for Bitcoin is largely over. Yeah, we're going to get a 2x slowly and, 5x real slowly. Maybe they're looking for the next Bitcoin, the next, 100x over 10 years, 10x, 150x over 2 years. This is crypto. What projects would you say are higher on your radar now?
I mean, still, of course, there's going to be a lot of micro caps. All retail wants to, really get the huge risk and absolute massive reward. But, the majority of VCs, they might put some money in those things. But I still think the top 50, there's so many incredible projects out there. Near Protocol, Polkadot dot 2.0 with all their integrations. Near, I know, is doing a bunch of stuff. Chainlink as well. I think Chainlink is so severely undervalued for where it is. I think it could be in the top 5 by the end of the cycle. We also have Avalanche doing a lot of great integrations, and also the way that the fundamentals of the technicals of how their chain operates. There's a lot of different things out there that I think, here's the deal. They're not going to be putting as much money as they do in Bitcoin, but you also have to realize there's a ratio basis there where Bitcoin has such a larger market cap that they don't need to put as much money into these various, altcoins, because their market cap's so much smaller. Let me actually pull this up real quick. Coin market cap.
While you're pulling that up, a bunch of people in the chat are asking, where's Ondo Guy? Which by Ondo Guy, they're talking about Josh. Josh has been out in LA doing some filming with the Altcoin Daily guys and the set of Killer Whales. So if you guys haven't checked that out, they're getting ready for season 2 right now. So should have some more updates on that. But yeah, he'll be back. I believe he's coming back today, but he'll be back in office either later today or tomorrow. But
yeah, out there, Mario Nawfal, Scaramucci, a couple other big names. Wendy O's out there.
Rand was out there. George was out there. So yeah, a lot of the good guys from YouTube. So it's been good for him hanging out with them. But yeah, he'll be back. Don't worry.
I was on a Mario space yesterday. Wow, he was out there hanging out with Mario, and then they actually had to close the space early because of the political unrest in Bolivia. It's like very, very interesting. Guys, we got an emergency space we now have to do. I'm sorry, we're going to reschedule everything. So big shout out to the space creators handling that well. Now, Will Clemente posting about ETH Bitcoin breaking out. ETH Bitcoin attempting to break out of a 2-year long downtrend with the S1 approvals on the horizon. I pulled up the ETH Bitcoin trading pair, finding something very, very bullish on the 3-day chart here. Cannot help but notice a little bit of bullish divergence. We have the RSI moving up as the price is going down. And not only that, this trend, this pretty close to a symmetrical formation here. Let's just say it started here. This is August 19. And so they're saying a 2-year trend line. Yeah, sure. This trend line is 2 years, but they're really in a 5-year consolidation pattern here. And folks, it has to choose a direction. I will say with the bullish diversion here, really increasing the odds that it was going to break to the upside versus break to the downside. It's at a do or die point this year. The end of this triangle happening in December of this year.
Yeah, but what's the date right here? Where time-wise, what is this?
Where? Right there. This was February 2021. So this was when ETH started just going nuts against Bitcoin. Remember, right, will it hit 3K? By a certain,
so you said this is September 19?
Yeah, this is September 19.
Interesting.
All right. So yeah,
that's interesting because I'm looking at this basically Bitcoin, Ethereum Bitcoin 3-day chart, and I have this trend line going all the way back to December 2016. Bouncing here again. And if you do it that way, we can actually see we're in a very wonderfully precarious situation, as Ben Cowan would like to say it. Dubious breakout here where we've actually broken bullish out of this falling channel that has been, 2 years in the making. We have deviated below this multi-year, very important trend line, but we're sitting right now here at the gates of really having incredible bullishness.
The gates of Valhalla.
Yeah, gates of Valhalla. And this is why, I actually shared it. Where's it at? It's this chart right this here. 2020 me, I'll be a crypto millionaire by 2024. 2024, everybody's feeling like you're scraping like the bottom of the barrel.
Scroll down.
Right? Have a little bit of patience right now because it's not moving in the exact moment that you feel like you need it to. You're being triggered emotionally like everybody else in the market. And if you sell now before you have that true breakout, these altcoins, I mean, I've never seen a more bullish setup for a bull run. So let's be a little patient because things are brewing.
I will say this. There's a thing in TA. It's like the more it knocks on a trend line, the more likely it breaks through, right?
Yeah.
Well, how would you, looking at this, it's like trying to knock on this trend line. I feel like at this point, its wrist is broken. Its hand is pulverized in a pulp. Can it still break through after knocking 18 million times?
Yeah, well, and generally, when we break that trend line and ETH starts closing the gap on Bitcoin, that signals the start of alt season. So we're right there. I mean, this ETH ETF, if it doesn't, I'd be shocked if it doesn't break through that trend line on this ETH ETF movement. We're going to see inflows. We're going to see some price movement into ETH. I don't think it's priced in as well as the Bitcoin one was. There's so many bullish things coming. By the way, I did look up State Street, 4th largest asset manager in the world globally.
Yeah,
so,
up there.
We've got Vanguard and BlackRock. We know those are top dogs. I wonder who number 3 is, but yeah, they're coming
Fidelity,
in right there at number 4. So.
All right, Crypto Nova saying altcoin market holding up quite well here. Also seeing evidence that only since this week alts are showing more strength than Bitcoin itself. Everyone that wanted out is likely out of the altcoins already, and the remaining amount of people that are still here, the degens, the people watching at home right now, the people hitting the like button, they don't want to sell at these prices. I sure as hell don't want to sell my Cardano at this price. I sure as hell don't want to sell my Polygon, my Avalanche, any of my strong projects at these prices. Would you consider selling any Chainlink at this price?
No, I mean,
you'd have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands.
You'd have to pry. I'd figure out another way to get capital, in another way. If you see me down on the corner of Main Street with the leg hanging out, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not selling while prices are, at these. Basically, why would you sell when a crypto fire sale is going on in exchanges? No, you sell into the strength of a bull trend.
And they're saying we have a wave coming. This wave is going to wash you wash you. Actually, it's not even going to wash you. It's going to baptize you. It's going to look at this, everybody. We have the wave right here. This is the first altcoin wave that we're experiencing, from the bottom of 2023. Now we have reset the altcoins, and now we're looking for, the next wave to begin. This looks like total D, I think crypto total market cap excluding top 10 by dollars. I prefer the percentage, but yeah, I like the dollar one as well.
You said wave, and I'm feeling the same thing. This is the thumbnail we have for the BitLab stream today. It's a wave of capital that it is ready to start flowing into this market so soon. And they're doing everything they can to chop you out. Do not be subject of that self-victimization. If you're doing that right now, we need to make sure that we're taking advantage of these opportunities. Because remember, in dips in a bull trend, they're meant for buying, and you sell into the strength. And remember, let me actually come over here to this chart really quick. So Bitcoin dominance, remember, we talked about this the other day. We've had, this is on the weekly chart. We've had all the way from back here, June 20, basically a year, we've been building this bearish divergence. And we are starting to see the signs of this likely ticking down. In addition to this, remember, Bitcoin has already been consolidating around previous all-time highs. This is a total 3 here. And look at the where we're at now on price, or on this, basically this index. We are still 85% away from the all-time highs on the index for altcoins, meaning we have so much room to go before we truly get like that explosive discovery above that. So right now is patience time. Sit on your hands if you don't have any capital, because the Valhalla is coming.
I did a tweet yesterday perfectly describing what you're saying. Last cycle, Cardano, hit that like button if you hold some Cardano and you're pissed that it's not reached an all-time highs or even close.
I hold Cardano and I'm pissed.
You're pissed. I'm pissed.
We were just talking about a crypto crank, and it hurts my soul to hear him say it, but I think he's right.
I'm just stuck. I am in quicksand when it comes to...
He says Cardano is the new EOS, and it hurts so bad, but it feels so true.
I have a pain in my chest after I heard that.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, here. Well, TJ, I'm about to make you a little bit more bullish. Are you ready? Are you ready for some hopium?
Please help me.
I'm about to douse you like a Gatorade bucket. Last cycle, Cardano topped out 480 days after the Bitcoin halving. It gained 15,000%. You hear me? 15,000%. Right now, we're only 65 days after the halving. Calm down, you impatient imbeciles.
Oh, okay, so what you're saying is I only have to wait another year?
Well,
hey, man, there's nothing wrong with waiting 415 days.
I mean, look at this chart right here. This is Cardano overlaid with Bitcoin, Bitcoin being the orange chart. If you see this price moving up on Bitcoin right here, if you just measure this out for when this started, that's almost, look at that, it's 120 days afterwards for when Cardano truly started moving. So sometimes you'll see, happens with Link, it happens with Cardano, happens with a lot of different assets. They're going to move sometimes at their own pace, but if you jump out, and then, I mean, I remember one of the best trades I thought I ever made was when Cardano went from 1 cent to like 6 cents. And then, had I just been patient, it would have, all the way up to above $3.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, though, because this is something that's really tough for me. Like, it is true. Like, if you can be patient long enough, I do believe Cardano will pump the way you both just illustrated. But what do you miss in the meantime? And that's the $1 million
opportunity cost.
If I'm holding a lot like, for example, when it was at 70 cents earlier this year, I was highly tempted to swap it back into Bitcoin or back into ETH because they had the stronger narratives. I didn't, because I was thinking, it'll go to $1, it'll go to 3, 4. If I had swapped when it was at 70 cents, this was, I don't know, a couple months ago, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. If I had pulled it into Bitcoin or ETH at the time, they both would still be at a much better place. I could either reaccumulate Cardano or other altcoins. Similar with Solana and other things that have been moving in the meantime. So that's the big debate, is what do you do when you feel like you're so far in on something? I don't really, and I'll tell you what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to diverse. I think I'm going to split. I think I'm going to keep a pretty sizable bag of Cardano, and I think I'm going to take probably about half of it and diversify back into things that I think might move more in the meantime.
Well, this goes back to what we were talking about yesterday or 2 days ago when we were all on together, that you have to ask yourself when you're in these markets, any market, not just crypto, it could be in traditional assets as well. What's your goal? What's your time horizon? What are you trying to do? If you're kind of have these long-term time horizons, but then the markets wind shift and then you get emotionally triggered to maybe sell and you're jumping between different horses all the time, then those are two conflicting ideas about what your strategy is. If you're And I think you just said it best there, TJ. You don't need to jump out of everything over into this other narrative. Figure out, where you have, a percentage, whether it's 30%, 50%, that as you hit a certain goal, 2x, 3x, whatever it is, you can rotate those capital profits into Bitcoin to protect that, into the future and vice versa. So understanding what your time horizon is and your goals are on each asset will help you over time.
Yeah, and just to be fair, I'm not only hating on Cardano right now. Like, I'm in the same boat. Like, I love Cardano. I've done very well with Cardano. I'm in a similar boat with Cosmos Atom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did really
I was gonna say
well
Atom
earlier
too,
this
right?
year. I wanted, I should have rolled some of it out. I haven't yet, and I'm kind of looking at the same thing. I think it's a strong project, strong technology. I do think it will do well. Tokenomics, not great. How long do I hold it, and when do I move? I talked about it on the stream not that long ago. You have to stay current with the narrative, with the meta. It's almost, you really do have to treat it like a video game. And it's like, my game back in the day was League of Legends, and it's like, hey, if some character is in the meta and they're OP right now and you're playing them, and then the meta changes and you keep trying to play that same character that got nerfed so hard that it's not relevant anymore. Like, people are like, all right, bro, when are you gonna rotate into the new
Magic
meta?
the Gathering part of me inside is like, yep, I know exactly what you're saying there.
Exactly. And so it's you got to treat it the same way in crypto. And so if you stay, you got to have a strong conviction, but you also have to know when to rotate. I'm looking to rotate on both of those projects right now. I'm still going to hold my bags. I'm never going to abandon. I still believe in a lot of the ethos behind some of these projects, but you can't be too, emotionally or ethically invested, when you're doing investing.
It reminds me of Pokemon, the trading card game. The year 2000, DZ's young. He's riding his bicycle to Books A Million, and I would net deck my Pokemon deck from Nintendo Power. They would have the good decks at the back of the magazine, and kids would force Charizard. They would try to, I will play with my Charizard, damn it. And I would just come in with my ground-based Pokemon, and I just wrecked people because they was just so focused. I must play with my Charizard, and that's me and Cardano. It's like, I must hold on to my Cardano. I'm like doing things on MinSwap. But let's switch gears over to Bitcoin, everybody. This chart, I did want to read one comment. Who is it? There's one guy, God, I just wanted to hit $1. I don't know who said it, but that was a pretty funny one there. Brian Scroggins right there at the top.
And then we did just get a super chat from Dougie with $2. He said, would you hold Algo or Root or trade them? I don't know much about Root. I will say Algo is one that I have been out of for quite some time. When I heard Algo Foundation was more or less trying to do VC, they're basically taking the money, reinvesting it in other crypto projects and hoping for them to pump. Like, I can do that on my own. I don't need a coin to do that for me. So Algo, there was some other bad news they recently got dropped from something. So not interesting to me at all whatsoever. Don't know much about Root, but
people got strong feelings on Charizard, the card. Look at the value today. Think of all those kids who just had their Pokemon decks with rubber bands. They're like, I could put just one twist of the rubber band. Now let's do a double and a triple and a quadruple wrap with that rubber band, and it's squeezing that cardboard. And hey, that Charizard's still worth a whole lot of money.
Is this a Charizard?
Okay, that was funny. All right. Speaking of Bitcoin here, let's on that like button, everybody. The chart shows the number of addresses holding more than one Bitcoin. There are currently over 1 million whole coiners. It's a pretty good number. There's a clear long-term trend as more and more people aim to achieve whole coiner status. I would love for our whole chat to be a whole coiner. I have a goal to be a whole coiner. I'm not a whole coiner. Had opportunities, especially around 16K. But I was just too fearful in the markets there at the time.
And you know what? That's a good sort of pivot just for a second. Looking at the Bitcoin chart. We do have an Adam and Eve pattern right here, further suggesting we maybe have reached that sort of bottoming sort of formation. If this price action can essentially hold up above this, this 60,000 mark. If we come back down here, we'll form a little bit more of a drop to the downside, but we're getting a lot of buoying right now from the Solana ETF application. Remember, we've got a very important conversation that's going on this evening that's only going to be streamed by CNN, apparently. I think you can figure out which one that is. But there's going to be a lot riding on what sort of talking points happen and how they do or don't address digital assets. So there is a strong probability that if both candidates do, we could likely see a good price action. This is a gate I'm watching right here, 63,209. The target out of this Adam and Eve pattern would be up here at $65,000. And that is important because when we look at these liquidation zones, that means that we could likely, where this is right at that zone I just talked about, that 63,000. But this means we'd be clearing all the way up into the zone, which I think could be a good start going into this weekend, into next week. I do think by mid-July, we're going to be seeing some fairly bullish price action in the market.
Hawk Tua Girl is a water Pokemon. That was funny. Water Pokemon. What are you going to say?
No, I was just going to ask, you mentioned earlier, Kelly, I mean, I know you've got some more stories to hit DZ, but think about this for a second, Kelly, because you did say, and I want to, I know there's a lot of new people coming into crypto right now. You said, take advantage of this opportunity. Don't sleep on this. What would be your best advice for somebody? How do you actually take advantage of this opportunity? Like, what would you tell somebody new that's coming into the space right now? They're asking questions. They're seeing, okay, I believe now that this is here to stay. We're seeing enough big money coming in. I want to get involved. I want to take advantage of this opportunity. What would you say? Where would you tell them to start?
Well, I would say start with subscribing to the channel. Kelly,
yes.
What are you going to say?
Yeah, start with subscribing to this channel, Blockchain Basement, BitLab Academy, getting different views and different voices on stuff. But number one thing I would say, especially with BitLab Academy, where we talk about trends and we talk about how to take advantage of. I shared this. This is April 4th, 2022, and you all are welcome. I'll actually copy this and put this in the live chat. You all are welcome to copy this. This is essentially just an outline of understanding trends. We are somewhere in this part of the trend right here. In a bull trend, it feels scary when you're not aware of how trends work. You're like, oh my God, it's over. But smart money says, okay, buying opportunity, buying opportunity, buying opportunity. And then everybody's basically, the big money's taking profits here, selling to hype cycle buyers. When you understand a market cycle on a midterm and a macro, then you can take advantage of the moves that are happening within this cycle. Because when we come back over to this chart, let's actually go to the BLX, just generally look at this on the daily. Remember, we are still very much so in a bull trend. We're only consolidating around the previous all-time high. This is what you're looking for if you understand the market cycle trend. Now, if this dips a little further down, great. That means you get things at more of a discount. When you zoom out on the chart and understand the trend, you stop becoming a subject of victimization of your own emotions. And that's what this market is meant to do, is to move money from people that are being emotional to people that are utilizing strategy.
Yeah, don't get trapped in that glass box of emotions, everybody. Jet says, great advice. The advice, buy alts on spot. Sit on your hands. Great stuff. Don't over leverage yourself there either. All right, let's see here. This is really, really cool. This person is spelling out $1 million Bitcoin in the 2030s, not 2050s, not next century. We're talking about within next decade, which is only 6 years away, 5.5 years away. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but really, he's just looking at 3 different charts. And the charts he's looking at, the amount of Bitcoin needed to retire, looking at the median U.S. family income there. Okay, so it's like, at one point, yeah, you needed millions of Bitcoin to retire. Now we're looking at double digits, less than 100 Bitcoin to retire. Then the other chart is Bitcoin's price and kind of where we're going. And then this is where it gets interesting, using median U.S. family income chart, assuming this is going to continue rising, and then kind of using this as a correlation for a number of Bitcoin needed to retire. And then once you put all those numbers together, you end up with Bitcoin's price above $1 million. I found that just kind of interesting, looking at retirement, Bitcoin needed, U.S. income. Once you start putting, you put all that together, you end up with $1 million Bitcoin, and I think it was 2036.
I was just interested. So it said, what did it say? 12.5? Is that what it says by 2028?
Let's pull it up and zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that is just a hair above 10. I would say, 11, 12. Oh, it's right there, 12.5.
Yeah. So then 2032, 4.9. So that's actually a pretty cool way to look at it. If I can get myself to 5 Bitcoin, I can retire in less than, in 8 years, essentially, or like less than 10 years. Which
and imagine you make it to retirement age is 2050, 2060, and you still have those 4 Bitcoin. I mean, you might be living like a king. You might have your own island at that point.
Yeah, and shout out here to a friend of mine posted this yesterday. Johnny King said, it's crazy to think that there are people out there who max out their IRA every year with cash only, AKA not buying index funds with your contributions or Bitcoin spot ETF. 20 years from now, the buying power of your cash, think you're saving, will be decimated. And it's true. Like there's a huge disproportionate wealth gap between people that invest versus people. You could save $1 million in your lifetime, and somebody could have invested 300,000 over that same period of time. They will end up having more money because the appreciation in the assets that they have versus the dollar value that you have continue going down. We're not going to go through this, but I did retweet this. There's I'm sure a lot of you saw this yesterday. This person went through, found a receipt that they had from Walmart in 2022.
Yeah.
Should we just play it?
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah. Give me 1 second to grab the audio. I don't know if you have. Yeah, I do have your audio. Yep.
So check this out. Man hits a record button on a 2022 Walmart.
Wait, is that Josh's friend?
I feel like I'm going to be sick. I just looked through my Walmart history, and I found this Walmart order from 2 years ago for the whole month worth of groceries. 45 items cost $126. A whole month of groceries just for me, basically.
Yeah.
But I did notice this reorder all button, and I wanted to see how much it would cost now. Now, this order of 45 items for 1 month would have cost $414.
I mean, think about that, guys. We are at 3.5% inflation. The government is absolutely crushing it, but somehow the same order is basically 4x from what it was.
Wait, are you suggesting that the government data that inflation is only 3 to 4% is inaccurate and inflation is worse than that?
I don't want to get Julian Assanged.
Oh, hey, you mean stuck in an embassy where they don't let you shower for years? All right, let's see here. U.S. government sold 4,000 Bitcoin today, but less likely to impact the market. Just looking at the numbers, Coinbase Prime, which is the government's illegal custody holder there, they handled 20 to 50,000 Bitcoin in sell-side liquidity during the high ETF inflow days. And on the low inflow days, 6 to 15. So selling 4K, can be absorbed by the markets. It's not going to just crash Bitcoin. They're saying this. I'm posting this because I'm tired of government selling FUDs. Well, how about Mt. Gox FUDs too? Hash rate fluctuations 2024. Highlighting the miner resilience and the market forces. So a lot of miners still turning on those machines. Hash rate still going up. I think we have a mean hash rate 7-day moving average. And coming off of a halving, still pretty strong, everybody. You can kind of see that halving was around May 19th. So you see pretty sharp fluctuations in the hash rate power. Still long-term trend looking good. The higher the hash rate, this is a gross simplification. The higher the hash rate, the more computers trying to mine Bitcoin at any given time, meaning more people fighting for it, meaning higher energy costs, which typically means higher Bitcoin price. So it is a bullish indicator, mostly speaking. Hash rate continues to fall. This is now the longest capitulation since the bottom of the 2022 bear market. I wouldn't worry about anything like this. This is just 4-year cycle having things. I like how they're saying, it's the biggest minor capitulation since not the last halving, only 2 years ago. It's a halving every 4 years. Bitcoin miner Marathon announced it started mining another proof of work coin, Caspa, to diversify its operations. That's what we were talking about earlier. That is why Caspa is pumping. So if you're a Caspa holder, you're probably pretty happy today. Do you hold any Caspa, Kelly?
I don't hold any Caspa.
I don't either. Long squeeze alert. 3 out of every 4 traders are now long on Bitcoin. I'm not going to get into the article here. Kelly, do you see this as a bullish or bearish metric? I feel bearish, right? Everybody expects it to go up, so that means it goes down, right?
Well, I mean, I look at broader data. I use there's a free website all of you can use called velodata.app, velodata.app. And I share it on the BitLab stream and on my Twitter regularly. And that essentially, I'm looking at the aggregate, basically premium, how much it costs to leverage, and then also the open interest. And it's actually showing when you look at basically across all exchanges, it's a little bit more middle of the road. It's not, 3 out of 4. So for me, that's, a cherry picked data point. I don't think everybody's going long right now. If that were the case, we probably would see a bit more upward price action.
All right. Now I have something really, really cool for the charts here. The Fear and Greed Index. I do want to give a shout out to FOMOD. But looking at this Fear and Greed Index, this indicator basically sets off a very explosive short-term rally. When we did the 33 fear here, the 30 fear here, and the 30 fear here, we end up getting explosive Bitcoin rallies. Just looking at the October touch of 30. So last time we hit 30, Not going to talk about the 33 here. Last time we hit 30, which we just hit, it was the jump from 28,000 to 74,000 from October to March 2024. One of the most explosive relative moves in Bitcoin history, all things considered. Price doing just fine. Do not get shaken out at the 30. Fear hits 30. I'm feeling most fearful. I'm going to sell my Bitcoin. I'm going to sell my altcoins. And then you end up missing out on the explosive pump right there.
This is a beautiful, that graphic is a beautiful exemplification of Warren Buffett's, one of his most famous statements. That's buy when there's blood in the streets. That's basically an indication of if everybody's scared, that's typically when the best opportunities arise in markets.
Well, let's give an exact date for some explosive moves in the markets. According to Scott Melker, Kelly, you retweeted this. So if you want to find it, go check out Kelly Kellem here. $10 billion in options expiring. Is this bullish or is this bearish? Well, traders are eyeing positive shifts in Bitcoin by July 12th and for ETH, July 5th, based off option skew data anticipation surrounding those dates there. So July 12th. So are you agreeing here? Are you bullish for Bitcoin heading into July 12th?
I absolutely remember. I think you shared the chart yesterday that every June that we've had a bearish June or red
that's
June,
right.
July has been bullish. And
in a row.
In addition to that, we've got the election cycle year. We also have the halving data, right? You know, the halving cycle. We have the hash ribbons. Once those flip back bullishly, flipping it back into that buy signal. One of the tweets I shared about a week ago was, on average, the last 5 that we've had during a bull season, bull trend has averaged 121% move to the upside. So I think we are coming into some bullishness in the market. I mean, just the nonstop, just like the FUD couldn't get us below 58, right? And now we have still this continued bullish narrative stuff just absolutely piling in.
Well, we're going to have the ETH ETF coming in July as well. So there's technicals, there's fundamentals, there's macro, there's new money, economy stuff. There's so many factors lining up. I think July, August, September, it's going to start to get fun.
Web3 me, sit up straight, DZ. Your spine will thank you. I got my elbow on the table, so it's just kind of I'm leaning to the left here. I got the John Travolta, Pulp Fiction sway going on. Blood in the streets, and it's up to my ankles. Jim Morrison. There's another one. When will he get hair plugs, fam? Not gonna happen. I'm sorry there.
Buy the blood.
High tea lifestyle.
Buy the blood, even your own.
Okay, here's the question I was trying to find. Crypto 22. Where do you guys put your money once you've gained enough from a bull run? I don't trust fiat money. In 2021, I cashed out a lot in November and December, and then January of the next year, 2022. In hindsight, perfect timing. Me, though, I was just trying to, I cashed into Tether and then cashed out my Tether in January. I put it in a home down payment.
Yeah, you bought it.
That's where I put my profits. Where would you say a good place to put profits?
Well,
casino.
I think I want to highlight something you just said. That was such a good point, because there's so many people that are out there. They're like, well, you should never sell. You should, at every dollar that the price rises, there's more incentive for other holders out there to sell. People, you're not only in this market like it's a video game where you want to see the number high on your wallet or high on your portfolio tracker. People want to buy a house. They want to get a new car. They want to pay off loans. They want to basically transfer some of this wealth that you can create here into impacting your life in a positive way. But yeah, I mean, I transfer, or I don't transfer. I store a lot of it on Arculus.
And then you lose it in dang boat accidents all the time, man.
No, it's okay if you lose a card, because then you just, it's all separated. It's my favorite cold storage solution out there is Arculus. Get Arculus.com. Use code DC10 to store your wealth into the future. But also one tap, trade, swap, all the things, multi-factor authentication. But one of the things I do with the capital that I have in my portfolios is there's a different strategy between altcoins, Bitcoin, and stablecoins. So I tend to take profits of those altcoins into Bitcoin. And then when I do want to, I always leave some in Bitcoin, but I do sell out. I'm a sellout. No,
You're a sellout.
I do sell out some into stablecoins, but then also remembering to take some of that capital and put it back into my bank account so I can actually affect my life in a positive way. So I kind of have a split strategy there.
Or you be TJ, he bought a dream car. Nothing wrong with that either. You still drive. That's your daily driver. You love it, right?
I do. Yeah,
you always maintain speed limits when driving, of course.
Of course.
Naomi, hey, how are you doing?
We actually got a question, a really good question from John Osorio in the chat. He says, serious question. I have 3.5K in XRP. I know. My first crypto buy ever. should I reallocate that into other projects? Now, this is obviously what you guys think. What say this is your
all in
friend.
on Flare.
What would you tell him?
All in on Flare. No, I'm kidding. Here's what I would say about XRP. XRP proved in the past it can pump out of nowhere. Just a little bit of some good news. However, you need to be ready on that trigger to go ahead and sell those tokens, just like when it basically teleported from 45 cents to 90 cents over, it was like in 2 days. And then it crashed all the way back down to 45 cents. So I would, if it was me, here's what I would do. I would probably get rid of $2,500 worth, keep $1,000. That way it's nostalgic, you like it, and if it does pump, you can then sell at a high, and that would just be good for your psyche. That would just be good for your emotions. And then you then you're less inclined to hold something down forever. You're like, hey, you know what? I held it for a long time, but I sold at a profit. I do think XRP is going to flirt with the dollar within the next 12 months. Does that sound crazy?
No, I mean, I do too. They still have a strong community, and when there is some of the pressure relief from all the unsubstantiated and just ridiculous claims that the Gary Gensler and the SEC have made. And I don't even think we even really talked about, did we even talk about the Coinbase?
No, I have it as the very next story.
Hold on, before we move on from this, because you said you think it could go to $1 in the next 12 months. So you're saying basically you could, go from 50 cents to $1. You got $3,500. You don't think you could find another project with that $3,500?
And that's why you sell $2,500 worth.
Yes, yeah.
You're saying just sell it all, and I appreciate that strategy
I'm done
too.
With XRP. I'd sell it all at this point. I don't believe, I do believe Cardano actually has a chance to do more than just a 100% pump. I do think from 40 cents, there's a chance it could get well over $1, maybe 2, 3, 4. It's plausible. So that's why I would hold some of that. With XRP, they've lost their narrative. There's really, to me, there's not much going on with it that's going to get people excited anymore. It's an older thing. So I hate it for so many people that have held XRP for such a long time, but a lot of these people have been, especially if it's the first crypto they've ever bought, they haven't been waiting 12 months. They've been waiting years and years and years and years at this point. And so how many, you're saying,
how many pumps did they miss out on,
Yeah, I'd say, look, get into something else that you think has a higher upside. There's plenty of other layer ones you could choose, plenty of other safe picks in the top 30. You could pick Avalanche, you could pick Near. Injective's a great pick right now. There's so many more things you could pick. So for me, maybe if you want to save $200, or something.
Okay.
I don't know.
You're saying sell more 90%.
Well,
I'm saying get out. Yeah.
Johnny here says you could say the same thing with Chainlink. See, I would disagree with that entirely because Chainlink has such a broad, actual, currently utilized use case between not only bridging Web 2 to Web 3, but also the interoperability, but also the CCIP that's looking like it's becoming the standard for a lot of cross-chain stuff.
I was going to say Chainlink's doing more
securitized,
of what XRP
Swift,
said they wanted to do than XRP is. They actually are working with Swift. It's happening.
They're not trying to replace it. They're becoming it.
Yeah.
All right. Ellen, all right, let's talk about SEC and Coinbase, everybody. Coinbase sues the SEC and the FDIC for information relating to crypto regulation. Coinbase looking to shed light on what it describes as deliberate and concerted effort by the SEC and the FDIC and other regulators to pressure banks to deny crypto firms access to the federal banking system. This was just filed this morning. So another just bullish narrative for coins, and just another notch on the belt of Brian Armstrong fighting the fight for crypto. And I would say just further proving himself as a good actor in the space. Big fan of what Brian Armstrong's doing with Coinbase. Cameron Winklevoss, not Tyler. This is Cameron. You mess with the bull, prepare for the horns. Talking about AOC's tweet here. I haven't read this one. People everywhere need to understand how disgusting and abnormal it is for special interests to dump nearly $15 million to unseat a member of Congress in a primary. This is corruption. It is a threat to democracy. It also fuels Trump. Support the fire alarm pulling Jamal Bowman.
Yeah. Did you guys cover yesterday, that basically this guy came out very anti-crypto politically in New York State, and then some Bitcoiners backed his opponent, and then his opponent won.
Well, did you see the other lobby that outspent the $15 million by they spent $22 million to unseat him? But I really can't talk about that. They'll maybe get us demonetized. 41. Yeah, there's someone else outspent the crypto bros. 41.
The point that Winklevoss is trying to make at this point is look, you make a strong political stance against Bitcoin, you're going to feel the pain, and we're seeing that left and right. And I think I think this next article really shows, where we're headed.
It certainly does. Look how the tides are turning, everybody. Now, just 41 U.S. politicians now strongly against crypto, with 310 strongly supportive. Now, I'd like to see how they come up with the word strongly there.
Well, just scroll down.
Yeah,
Like,
Republicans
they actually had to designate this themselves. You can just don't even have to read the article. Just look at the graphics.
All right. Okay, here we go. Senate. Well, again, I do want to know how they come up with some of these.
They poll them. They ask them, "What's your stance? Are you strongly for? Strongly for, moderately for?" And then they have to make a selection and say, "Yeah, I'm for this or against this."
Okay. So there is a poll here, is what you're saying. All right, that's pretty cool there. All right. Well, in total, 310 strongly support crypto industry. Only 41 are firmly against it. Theoretically, 2/3 majority in both houses would be enough if the Republicans in control to pass any crypto legislation as it stands. This is data from Stand With Crypto, and here's the overview of the landscape regarding crypto legislation. The data includes both sitting and challenger candidates for both Congress and the Senate. There's a notable divide on crypto issues. A number of Republican senators have positioned themselves as strongly pro-crypto, indicating a willingness to support legislation that favors the industry, while on the Democratic side, a slightly larger contingent of senators have a strongly anti-crypto stance. This suggests that passing legislation in the Senate may face challenges requiring cooperation across the aisle to overcome the obstacles here, and the bipartisan support in the House suggests higher likelihood of legislation passing through in this chamber. And so, yeah, pretty interesting take here. Is this going to shake up 2024? It looks like it already has. TJ, does Elizabeth Warren have any chance of losing, you think?
I think she does. Yeah, I think she does stand a chance. I don't think it's necessarily a high chance, but there's definitely a chance. And it has absolutely shaken up the 2024 election. I mean, it was very clear one group was kind of against it beforehand, and now that tide has definitely shifted. I think I can't remember who, I think it was Garlinghouse or somebody came out and more or less said Gary Gensler is going to cost, our current seating the election.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be, obviously there's the debate coming out tonight. It'll be fascinating to see if crypto topic comes up. I think if it does, they'll both have bullish things to say, strong things to say about it, which again could pump things even more. So yeah, I mean, really the tide has turned in a lot of different ways. So everybody should smash the likes for that. We have about
hit that like button, everybody.
Right now, there's no reason we don't hit 420 likes today. Come on.
Oh, we definitely need to here. Yeah, and I was just kind of looking at the rest of the article, seeing, was this, I guess, just a poll that they asked everybody? I was wondering if they're kind of getting off their voting record or something, but I guess if they're running for it, that would be kind of difficult there. We wouldn't need Bitcoin if we could trust the banks, if we could trust people, and if we could trust the government. But we can't. And that's why we need a plan Bitcoin B right there. Very, very well put by Dan Held. Let's see here. 711,000 followers. Ooh, he worked at Kraken and Uber. I would say that's pretty big. For what it's worth, sources close to the spot ETH ETF filings, because last round of the S1 revisions were so light, SEC could contact issuers at any point with date as to when funds can launch. Timeline to launch is not clear, but we reasonably expect it to be in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm still coming in with the July 2nd approval date. It looks like what it's going to be. Here's when ETH hits 6K, according to analysts. Why I think it's going to be trading by 6K by September 24th. Really, really close to my all-time high date for 2025, September 27th. So here it just has an impact. Why? Mostly the ETH ETF. And I actually covered some of this on the afternoon stream a couple days ago, so check that out. I love seeing this global liquidity index, but I am going to just start trying to pay more attention to what of these global long-term. This one is a recurring 65-month cycle. I fear, TJ, that some people are just playing with this cycle to make it match data. You can make it a 67 or a 61, and then all of a sudden you find it like, oh, it overlaps. What are your thoughts on that?
You're taking it with a grain of salt. I agree. Obviously the timelines are very good because they're comparing the altcoin cycle there at the bottom with global liquidity. They makes them look graphically very similar. But I think the point this thing is trying to make is we're heading into an altcoin season at the same time we're heading back into a long-term, global liquidity printing cycle, which is the same thing. It's kind of like saying, tightening with the rates and loosening, hawkish or dovish. So as we see printers kick back up around the world, we will see assets go up. That's great for risk on assets like altcoins. So it does track, in my opinion. It is worth keeping an eye on, but it's not quite as relevant as that image makes it look, if that makes sense.
Now, Chad is wondering, TJ, what are your thoughts on the MAGA meme coin?
I think, so I've changed my opinion on meme coins quite a lot. I think it's interesting. I mean, I know it's one they covered on Basement almost as soon as it launched.
Yeah, under $1.
Yeah, I mean, they've done really, really well on it. I do think it'll do well in the debate tonight. I am expecting, if a VC announcement or a VP announcement comes out tonight, that there'll be meme coins pumping on that almost immediately. So meme coins, I do think, are fun. I do think it gives people that sense of quick money, which is what draws a lot of people into crypto quickly. It gets them to download a wallet. It gets them to understand a lot of different things. So I think it's here to stay, and it'll be fun. I don't think it's things you should hold necessarily for a long time. But if you've got a strong narrative like this, like, sure, buying a political related meme coin when we're going into a very politicized news part of the cycle, you have a pretty good chance to do well. Yeah. So yeah, I don't have anything against it.
And shout out to Sistine Research telling everybody from the mountaintops, hey, you got to buy this coin. You got to buy this coin. Here's why. Election cycle. We're 10 months away. I'm just saying it's a good buy. Ended up being a really, really good buy. There's one other question I wanted to answer here. Print, baby, print. Let's see here. ADA is on sale. I don't have Kelly here to scroll up. So
yeah, sorry, I can scroll back up here and look for some on my side.
D-Pen. Oh, it was the D-Pen. Was D-Pen too confusing for retail? I think it is actually. Retail, it's a hard narrative. I had the real good explanation. Compute, storage, communications. Compute, storage, communications. That's easy. But when you say decentralized physical infrastructure networks, what the hell does that mean? And so we're like, yeah, I don't really know what's going on. It sounds like vaporware. I'm out. I'm just going to buy gaming. And so if they just would have said compute, storage, communications, oh, okay, we need compute, we need storage, and I guess things need to talk to each other. So yeah, I would say it's a little bit too complicated, but AI narrative run could lift all the D-Pen coins. Diamond Hen in that. I want an island. Nicole, don't be afraid to take profits. I know she's talking about her MAGA coin there. Shill those political coins. I shared one I bought yesterday, folks. If Vivek is announced, maybe I'll get a little bit of a pump. And I'm selling like 95% of the tokens that I have there. We do have a Polkadot Cardano bridge development. I've covered the Snow Bridge with the Polkadot EVM capabilities, but now it looks like they're going to have .ADA capabilities. So, good news for both of those coins. Of course, co-founders Gavin Wood and Charles Hoskinson, founder of each respectful coin, they were both Ethereum co-founders, and they both usually say pretty nice things about the other project there. This is Polkadot head ambassador, popularly known as Allison Bob, offering his view on the bridge built. For the Polkadot ADA direction, I believe the most straightforward approach be verify beefy proofs on a contract on a Cardano L1. So I've seen this before, the SDK. It'll implement different things, different tech stacks, and then at the end of the day, it's like a Tower of Babel situation. They all can kind of talk to each other there.
Yeah, I did want to add one more thing on the meme coins. I didn't quite finish my thought there, but I do think they're relevant. I think they're fun. They're here to stay. That being said, I do put the meme coin season we just experienced very similar to DeFi summer. It had its heyday. There will still be some that are relevant. It will still be some blow off tops at the top of the cycle. But I do think we will see rotations back into actual projects that are doing things utility. I don't know when, I don't know how fast, but I do think, meme coins aren't going to be here forever. All meme coins aren't. They're going to have their moment, and usually once they do, that's the time to take your profits and get out and then look for the next one. And if you think you have to rotate fast with traditional projects, you really got to rotate fast when it comes to meme coins. So
yeah. It's hot potato.
But I do think it's great for people having their first taste in crypto. Maybe they get burned a little bit, maybe they don't, but at least it gets people excited enough to download a wallet and play with it and learn.
Yeah. And even if it's Robinhood, just download Robinhood, put $10 into Doge, call it a day. Charles and Gavin were right the first time with ETH Classic. Ooh, says Coca-Cola. He wanted that hacker to keep the funds, which maybe was the right call. I would never watch before you guys change, but now it's DC is literally a never miss single YouTube for me. Crypto Brad Fox, bad Fox. He's not Brad. Appreciate that as well. Maybe in the future, BlackRock, there'd be a spot ETF on Ondo. Very, very possible. Adam, Ada, and don't forget Tia, but I ain't selling. I'm willing to go down with the ship. I would say the stronger the community, the more likely that seems to be the sentiment. You see it with Cardano, going down with the ship. You see it with XRP, I'm going down with the ship. And you see with the Hexicans, I'm staked for 11 years. Oh, too soon. All right, I am in the Blofin trade still, and then we're going to wrap up with this last subject just because it is so damn fun. Blofin, I should have took a little bit of profits on that local high right there, but I tell you what, we start getting closer to the 61K level, I might have to add to that trade. I'll of course, check some of the scholastics and some of that stuff, but the Toys R Us AI ad torn apart by critics. This is an AI ad. Release an AI commercial and it effing blows is what he's saying there.
We're not
going to watch the whole thing, just kind of skip
son
around.
Of a bike shop owner,
Isn't that
Charles
bad?
Lazarus, had a vision that would go on to change toy stores forever.
It's not that bad. I mean, is it a Super Bowl ad? No. But you know what? Toys R Us doesn't. Are they even existing anymore? Aren't they bankrupt? If they need to save a couple bucks on an AI ad, let Toys R Us do that. We got to save them. We got to bring them back. Toys R Us. Do you remember KB Toys?
Not really.
Did
I didn't get a lot of toys. When
were
I was
you
a kid.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
I mean, I knew that. I did, but we didn't go to Toys R Us a lot. You know, we were like go outside and play with sticks kind of family. You know, like we're not.
That tracks. That tracks. You know, or you could play the pinball machine. All right, and hey, hit that like button if you are a pinball wizard. I appreciate everybody joining in, and we'll see you folks in the future. Hit that like button on the way out. We appreciate.